Okay, so I started the stream. Have I shared my favorite music? I'm playing it because they won't content ID me because they're nice.
Who are they?
Synth Mage. I don't know how this Synth Mage does it, but he makes prodigious 2-hour mixes of music every single day, each one with a different theme.
Wow.
He's extremely prolific.
How would this totally human person have time to do that, Brian?
I don't know, but the totally human person in the chat definitely gave me all the blessings to rock it. Hey, look at this.
Rocket.
What do you say? Zoe brings bacon.
Test
wait.
what did.
Now I have to log in to this other thing.
Are we live? Are we live? Are we live?
I do believe we are live. I'm going to double check.
Are we the livest?
It says auto activate. Select live sources. Oh, no. I'd hate
Pop
to
out
believe...
that chat for me. Pop it out. Yeah. You know you want to.
Okay, so the question is whether
you
or not...
want me in that chat. You need me.
We're live on...
Zoe confirms we are live on Twitch. I have confirmed we are live on YouTube.
Oh, there we go. Look at this.
Good morning, Vietnam.
There
this
we go.
reminds me of being in high school. This music.
Look at that. Nice.
Test.
All right, I'm going to turn off the air conditioner because it's cold outside and we don't need it.
Baby, it's cold outside.
Yeah. There we go. Dan Homesteader. Zoe brings bacon. Testy test. Stephen Wagner. Dylan Theus. Heck yeah.
Everybody in the house. The house being chat.
Done.
Spelt correctly.
All right.
S-P-E-L-T.
Okay. Tom.
Yeah. Yeah, Brian.
Man. Oh, I got to get the doc. Oh, man. I had everything all figured out. Except for one
and
little
then we
thing.
threw one last curveball.
Yeah. I got Columboed.
One more thing, Brian.
Man, I'm actually nervous. I'm nervous about doing this right.
Don't be nervy.
I'll be nervy. I think, Tom, I actually...
You do.
I believe this is true. I believe we can set it up so that Amos will be able to switch via HTTP browser.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll just watch the stream and be able to just switch everything, same interface.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then you guys can fight over who wants to switch.
Well, although I like the way StreamYard does it. I mean, that's StreamYard with the cooperative, everyone can do things. And in fact, actually you can as well, because vMix, you set up HTTP calls. And so you just have a web interface. And so all three of us will be able to do it in the round.
And then we just I'll keep putting my single up. You'll put your single up. Amos will put his.
Yeah. No, I like that. Okay. So here, I am going to do one thing a little bit different. Let me give. Oh, that's interesting.
No, it's not time for that one yet.
Yeah. That's really weird that happened.
Please stop.
I don't know why it's
buried
not
treasure.
Playing audio.
We're not ready for you.
Uh-oh.
It was playing audio a minute ago.
Whoa, it's playing all of these.
That's not the right time for
That's disconcerting. Wait a minute. I think somebody is actually doing things.
Oh, is somebody else?
I did mention that you can do HTTP calls.
And suddenly, someone was doing HTTP calls.
You know what?
Who?
If somebody... Wouldn't that be weird? Well, now I want to stop everything and check the logs.
Well, how long will that take? Seems like a fast thing to check.
I'd have to learn how the logs work.
Oh, I see. That could take a little while. I have not looked at our emails yet. Oh, crap.
Oh, you know what? I just did it again, so that makes me feel better.
You did it. Okay.
Unless, well, when I clicked it, unless I didn't. The buried treasure came on, right?
Yes, it did, but no audio.
And that's right. Now I can restart it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you know what?
Emails.
G. James B, try it again. I think that script is running. Oh my God. Watch this. You look at this magic trick, Tom. G. James B wrote the word booty and triggered it. Go ahead, do it. Now clean up. That's what I figured out this morning. Was I set up a hole? That's amazing.
So he's doing it in chat or somewhere else?
No, I'm okay. All right, you guys have to stop. I have to kill this. So here's how good Social Stream is. I set up a workflow.
Yeah.
That. There we go. Okay, stop. Everybody's saying the word booty, and it's really things. This is great. Status and logs, event flow editor. Oh, that's too funny. All right, it is no longer active. Okay. No! Unless it's all queued up. That could be. So, you know those N8N workflows?
No.
I don't know a faster way to.
I don't know what. I don't know the context.
One of these things. This is what was doing things is if somebody said booty in chat this morning, I was testing and I set it up it would call to a webhook to trigger a thing. And
so you said, hey, Streamcast, look at booty, look at chat room. When you see booty,
yes,
do this. And okay, got it.
Yeah. Now that's pretty you guys, cool. Only hours ago, we never knew this could backfire. Yes, that is correct.
like you, now it seems obvious, but yes.
Yes.
Nah.
Okay, great. And now the booty doesn't do it. That's hilarious. That's great. Okay. Well, now, you know what? We got all the weirdness out of our system.
Yeah. No, we're good now. This is great.
Okay. So what I was going to say, Tom, is we'll do one thing a little bit different. We'll just give a little bit of a preamble and let everyone know, and then start the show. And I'll hit record on there. Does that make sense?
Okay. That doesn't change anything I do.
No. Outside of, you just have to know that now I am pressing record, and we can make our announcement, and then I'll start it.
Sounds good.
All right. Hello, you beautiful killers of chords. We're trying something different. Tom, do you want to explain?
I thought you were going to explain. I thought that was the whole thing. I didn't have to do anything different or know anything to
stuff like that. Expect that this episode, because I'm switching everything live. Maybe a little bit off my game. We'll find out.
Yeah. No, it's good stuff. Welcome to Cord Killers Reckoning! The world of entertainment is turned upside down, and we're just trying to find out how to watch what we want, where we want, whenever we want. I'm Tom Merritt. Brian, are you there? Are you there? We killed all the chords.
I am, Tom. I'll be danged if I know for sure exactly what I'm doing, but I certainly am trying my best. We are down one Amos, and so we decided to fly right towards the sun and have me do all of the switching during the show. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we thought, it's a little rocky when Amos is gone and we use our typical tech setup. Why don't we change the entire tech setup? That'll level up,
It'll certainly make it exciting.
So here's what I'm curious about, Brian.
Yes.
What is going to happen when I say it's time for the supply run?
Supply run, supply run, supply run.
Nailed it.
Beautiful. Oh no, and then I screwed it up by clicking on myself. That's fine though.
It is time to play Whose Warner Is It Anyway? All the trade magazines and the news sources are out there speculating that in a couple of weeks, we will know who is going to own which parts of Warner Brothers Discovery. If you're new to the show or new to this story, right now, Warner Brothers Discovery has a plan to split itself into two parts. Warner Brothers would become the studio, the movies, HBO, all the profitable parts of the business. And then Discovery would be the cable networks and some of the less profitable parts. Paramount would like to buy all of it. And apparently Netflix and Comcast are interested in buying the profitable parts. Paramount has submitted its fourth bid, according to sources, for the entire company. Its previous bid was $23.50 a share. That one was rejected. We don't know if they went up on their latest bid. Netflix just wants the studio and the streaming side of the business and has said it has submitted a disciplined bid. I guess they hit it a couple of times with a whip. Netflix supposedly agreed to honor the theatrical first strategy for Warner Brothers movies. Remember, Netflix doesn't like to do windowing and theater first. They said, no, for Warner Brothers stuff, we'll do that. Some are skeptical at how long they would commit to that. Obviously, they would stick with movies that are already in development, but they might not do that for new movies that were developed under Netflix's ownership. They also say they would continue to make TV shows for licensing to third parties. Same kind of skepticism. Co-CEO Ted Sarandos has long coveted studio lots and entertainment franchises. That's probably why they're interested at all. They would like the space to make stuff, and they would like the stuff in the catalog. Some think it would be smarter for Netflix to just wait this out and then try to pay whatever debt-ridden acquirer gets Warner Brothers a lower fee to license a bunch of their stuff. And finally, Comcast wants streaming and studios and said NBC Universal would be Warner's parent. There was some speculation they might spin something out the way they're doing with their cable networks with Versant. However, cable nets included in that part of the business, like CNN and TNT Sports, could be spun out prior to the sale. So whatever stays would be part of NBC Universal, but they might spin some stuff out, maybe to Versant before the sale. All right. Now that we know the players, Netflix, Comcast, and Paramount, now that we know the game, who wants what parts of Warner Brothers Discovery, Brian, what would you do with HBO in each of these scenarios?
Well, number one, change HBO back to HBO Max.
Well, it's already HBO Max.
No, sorry.
So
I mean, whatever it is, flip it. Keep them on their toes.
Just change it to something else.
Yeah.
Netmax.
No. Well, first of all, yeah, I would go back to Max, but mainly, I'm really fascinated by this being a three-way affair because Netflix has the most walkaway power. They flat out do not need it.
They don't need it. No.
They think it would be cute to dabble in the movies business, and it is fascinating. I'm utterly enchanted by the strange intangibles that people compete for in the tournament, in the creative tournament of Hollywood. And one of those things is the glitz and the glamour of the Hollywood theatrical release. And strangely, that means because Hollywood has a strong bias towards keeping that, people move across the country, come in from all around the world for the chance to be on the red carpet or whatever. They're not going to give that up, and they care very, very deeply. In other words, whenever you're dealing with a negotiation and there's a non-monetary intangible that is emotionally anchored with somebody in a financial decision, that gives you leverage. And I wonder, Netflix says they're being disciplined, but I wonder behind the scenes how much they're promising, because of concern was whether or not how protective of the day of the theatrical release would they be. And my impression is that they will absolutely promise everything will remain the same, and then just quarter by quarter, tighten that window a little bit, make a special exception.
This one is going to premiere on Netflix at the same time. This one is going to have a 20-day window instead of a 30-day window, et cetera, right? Yeah.
So, Now that is, I guess at this point, I'm not really. First of all, it's really hard for me to wrap my mind outside of changing names. That's all I would do to HBO to close the loop on your question. I like exploring that timeline with Netflix. What do you think it looks like? The big difference would be between Comcast and Discovery, right? Or sorry, what was the other one? Comcast and
it's Paramount, Comcast, and Netflix. Those are the
Paramount
three.
and Comcast.
I feel like Paramount makes the most sense. I think Paramount wants it the most. Paramount has daddy's cash. Larry Ellison, David Ellison is the owner of Paramount. So they can make a good bid, but they just merged with Paramount. And so it is Skydance Paramount, and part of them is like, well, we don't want to go too high. We don't want to go any higher than we have to go. We can do it, but we don't want to. But you would merge Warner Brothers and Paramount. It would be a huge combination. Probably Warner Brothers subsumes all of those brands. You probably have the studio be Warner Brothers with a Paramount studio subsidiary to it. You probably have HBO leading the brand and merge Paramount Plus into HBO Max. That would be my guess in that situation, is that it's like when AOL bought Warner Brothers, and AOL was the owner, but everybody thought of it as Warner Brothers, and then they ended up splitting it, right? I think with Netflix, you've got a bigger brand problem. Like, you don't merge HBO into Netflix without keeping HBO. I don't see them running two services. They don't have sub brands inside of Netflix yet. So that would be something new that they would have to create. But man, it's tempting to get that studio. Do you still call it Warner Brothers Films, or is it Netflix Films? Do you what do you do with these brands? I mean, it's a good problem to have if you get that catalog and you get those studios and you get those HBO shows. I've seen some people talking about the fact that Netflix doesn't rely on tentpoles anymore. It's just relying on a breadth, on the amount of stuff it can give you. And this would further it quite a long way down that road at a jump. Comcast is the only one that doesn't make perfect sense to me. Obviously, you can have Universal and Warner Brothers together, and you've just got more movies coming out. HBO just eats Peacock, and it's HBO Max with NBC stuff in there. But then Comcast doesn't like to do that. NBC likes to be the brand.
Right.
And so that would be kind of a weird fit for them. And also, I suspect Comcast often wades into these things to drive the price up for its competitors, which I've mentioned before. So I think this ends up going to Paramount. That's where I think this ends up, because I think Netflix just looks at it and they're being disciplined. They're not being aggressive. They're not like, we're going to get this, which they absolutely could. They're saying, well, I'd kind of like to get it, but we're not going to overspend. And Paramount desperately wants it.
So here's the important part with Netflix is, yes, they just get more of everything, but they would actively be purchasing what I think of as the Microsoft problem. Microsoft in the late 90s could not stop itself from slapping its dumb, stupid name that is synonymous with spreadsheets on entertainment, on arts, on music. Everything is a Microsoft, which of course means nothing is a Microsoft. Right now, Netflix has a supremely excellent brand value that means a specific thing. And yes, we have seen, for example, HBO Max. HBO as a brand has weathered the storm despite having a bunch of, forgive me, garbage stapled to the HBO brand. I think it's done just fine. There's still, people think of the good, high quality prestige stuff. And along with that came your Max hacks and so on. So I don't see Netflix going for this. Paramount feels right because it's just all of old Hollywood cozying up together. Remember when? It's 1960s LA, all in one bunker together.
You like movies? We got more movies. You like
Classic
TV? We got
golden
more
era.
TV. Yeah.
that
And I
one
think
feels
Warner
right.
Brothers brand kind of subsumes it. I think you're right. Just to have fun though, if I'm to scenario out Netflix buying this, the one part of my brain that's tickling here is there was a point, it's kind of hard to remember, where the idea of Disney owning other TV programs and movie studios was weird. People are like, you mean the people who make kids animations? I guess they do some live action movies sometimes, like the Apple Dumpling Gang, but come on, they could never own a big TV network like ABC. Turns out, yes, they can. Well, okay, but now they're Disney. They're certainly not going to dilute the brand by buying other brands, like Marvel and Star Wars. Oh, turns out, yep, they can. So it would be a change for Netflix, but maybe there is a Disney-like path where Netflix buys a Warner Brothers, keeps it as Warner Brothers. All the films Netflix makes are now Warner Brothers films. And maybe it even keeps HBO and spins HBO as a specialty service that you can pay less for if you just want the highest quality television, or you have the Netflix big tent that gives you everything.
That is a fascinating comp that kind of comes out of left field, because we've already seen Netflix extending a pseudopod into theme park-like territory. And if it suddenly acquired its version of a Star Wars franchise,
right,
its versions of an MCU, oh, I don't hate that, Tom. And if, okay, let's go a step farther. If there was an interest in going that way, you know what I would definitely say? We are putting a disciplined bid out. We really don't care. We have lots of walkaway power. Then I'd wait
absolutely
to watch the other two piddle around, and then whatever they end up at, just like $5 over that right now, final offer.
Yeah. Paramount upped its bid from $23.50 a share to $24. Great, $24.05.
Yep. Sin Havoc 5150 in the chat says that Netflix has the global network to help Warner Brothers. That's certainly the case.
Yeah. I think if you're a Warner shareholder, you probably like Paramount's bid better because it buys everything. It doesn't leave you with the rump of the Discovery section, but you're also comfortable with spinning them out into two, with the idea being you would sell those two. So maybe there's a deal where Comcast buys the Discovery side, even though they say they're not interested. I shouldn't say Comcast. Versant buys the Discovery side, and Netflix buys the studio side. Or maybe Comcast does both, but Comcast buys the studio side and Versant buys the TV side. And if you're like, what's Versant again? Versant is the TV networks from Comcast that are being spun out into an independent company. That's why you have MS Now instead of MSNBC, because it's not part of NBC, it's part of Versant. And so there's some wiggle room for stuff to happen. I still think it ends up being Paramount though, because it is just the perfect, they've got the cash to keep bidding. They want the whole thing. And it is a more natural match. What also occurred to me is that Netflix might just be looking at this as a learning exercise. Like, yes, we know we probably won't end up with Warner Brothers, but if we go through this process, we get to look at their books, we get to see, and game theory, all of these scenarios. If we do end up with it, maybe we don't, but then we might be able to go buy another studio, maybe a cheaper studio, and we'll understand better how it would fit in.
That's amazing. Like, did you ever do that with buying a house? Like, just kind of go to open houses just to be around the process, or not all the way through execution, but to, I definitely, once we had saved enough money for a house, just kind of got in the room enough that I knew what I was doing. The idea of businesses at that level doing that is intriguing.
And I pull that from direct experience when I was in on the conversations about the bidders to buy Tech TV from Paul Allen.
Yeah.
Because all the executives that I was in the room with were saying like, oh yeah, no, Fox is just doing this because they want to look at the books and they want to see, where it is. They're not a serious bidder. They're a looky-loo. Sony's real. Comcast is real. Those are the ones to pay attention to. So I'm like, oh, that's a thing that companies do, is they just go through the process and they don't violate the confidentiality agreements, but they learn a lot in the process of doing it.
That's amazing.
Yeah. We, however, are not for sale at any price except to you at whatever price you want.
Yeah, dude. And look, some of the people watching live right now may notice that suddenly, without explanation, your shot is a little bit dropped down. And no, it's not because we don't have a backup producer on staff and Brian is in the middle of trying to fix something, hoping that Tom would talk long enough and handle the Patreon plug himself. But then Brian got caught midway. And the only fix for this is for you guys to head on over to patreon.com/cordkillers.
Daily technique. No, cord killers.
By the way, Jack Conte did a op doc that is worth watching in the New York Times, talking about the need for algorithms that aren't proactively out to rot your brain, and how the Patreon algorithms, what they attempt to do, whether it's a good idea or not, I'll leave that up to the viewers and listeners. But what they attempt to do is to bring you the whole catalog of a creator so you can get to know them with their varied work. At any rate, we are thankful because that kind of stuff keeps us alive. But literally, patreon.com/cordkillers. Just a couple bucks an episode. That's all we ask. You get exclusive access to our After Talk segment where we spill all of the tea. You get early access to the full experience, and you get our undying affection and love.
Yeah, it literally keeps us alive, folks. So do it right now or we die. Patreon.com/cordkillers. And now the search party. This is the segment of the show where we go across all the news of the day to figure out if there's something in here worth watching, or at least putting on your watch list. And man, everybody seems to be talking about Pluribus. That is Vince Gilligan's new show that is available on Apple TV. No more Apple TV Plus. It's just called Apple TV. Vince Gilligan, of course, famous for Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Pluribus does star Rhea Seehorn, who was in Breaking Bad's spinoff Better Call Saul. But this is not a Better Call Saul or Breaking Bad related show, at least as far as we know up till now, because Rhea Seehorn is playing an entirely different character. And it broke the record previously held by Severance Season 2 for the biggest global drama series launch across Apple TV's more than 100 territories. Severance had to wait until people got used to it, and then Series 2 set the record. Pluribus had so much buzz, it set the record right away.
Deservedly so. It's great. It's great. And who knows, might fall off a cliff. Been enjoying every bit of it. I've watched it. I've watched everything twice, Tom. And
oh, really?
It's one of those shows, and we'll save the rest for after talk, spoilery stuff. But I watched it with a bunch of family members, and at the end of episode 2, I was like, oh, I think they're kind of doing this thing. And they're all like, you just now figured that out? And I was like, well, I spent the first 2 episodes seeing it through this totally different political lens. And whether you see it as a technological thing or a political divide, I think I'm talking in code well enough that you can follow the different ways to see it. But a lot of nested layers, a lot of questions, enjoying it a lot.
That's interesting. I should probably go back and rewatch as well, because there are a lot of different lenses that you could look at this through. It's a very well crafted, as you would expect from Vince Gilligan, but it's showing that he doesn't have to live in the crime syndicate world to make a good story, right? He can go sci-fi and tell it as well. So again, After Talk, if you're a patron, check it out. We'll be talking about it more there. The other English language show I've been watching a lot of is The Chair Company, Tim Robinson's HBO comedy, which has been renewed for season 2.
Tom, I am so glad to hear that, because I was sitting on the bench waiting to dive in because I couldn't tell whether or not the show was drifting away or not, because it's fairly, the first 3 or 4 episodes, unpleasant, Tom. It's unpleasant to watch. Now, I loved it when watching Friendship, saw Friendship 3 times, same director and talent combination there, similar flavor. And I was like, is it just unpleasant always? But hearing that there's a season 2 is a good press release.
Yeah, it's a good press release for me as well. I have been, knocking myself down to watch Pluribus when it comes out. When The Chair Company comes up, I'm like, am I in the right frame of mind to watch this right now?
Homework, right? You burn in some calories.
But then when I watch it, and they're less than hour episodes, so it doesn't take as much of my time, I watch it all the way through. I don't get distracted. I don't drift. And it's one of those things where they're playing very much with like, I think we've got about as much as the viewer can take. So let's reel it back in and make it a little silly for a minute, or let's get, take him back to his house, show him the family life, give you a break. They're always like floating you out towards like, I don't know if I like where this is going, and then bringing it back and being ridiculous and like, oh, well, maybe it's not a story about a conspiracy. Oh, wait, now it definitely is a story about maybe he's crazy. Oh, wait, no, he's not crazy. And that kind of swing is really fun. So I think that's why I keep coming back.
Yeah. I am hopeful that I don't end up being left feeling like I was just jerked around. But I think that's why I've been hesitant.
Season finale is next week, so I will report back on how I feel after that. Amazon MGM Studios has greenlighted another series based on the Stargate intellectual property. This one will be coming to Prime Video. It will be set in the classic sci-fi universe, made by Martin Gero, Gero, who was a writer on Stargate Atlantis, also worked on Stargate Universe and Stargate SG-1, and created NBC's Blind Spot. So he'll be the showrunner for a new venture into the Stargate universe on Prime Video.
So shared universe, all same thing.
They haven't confirmed that, but they sort of heavily implied that this will be in that same universe. Yeah. Did House of the Dragon?
I was going to ask how much you loved Stargate.
I'm a big fan of Stargate. I have watched all of it, except for some of those short versions that came out. I missed a couple of those, but I watched Universe. I loved SG-1 and Atlantis. So yeah, I'm curious to see what a more current touch to the Stargate universe looks like. Mm-hmm. House of the Dragon has been renewed for a 4th season, that is coming ahead of the season 3 premiere later this summer. Season 4 will release in 2028. So if you're a House of the Dragon fan, well, you now know the schedule for the next couple of years. The creator previously had said that 4 seasons might be all that the story needs, but they have not called season 4 the final season. Turns out he's still writing season 4 and kind of waiting to see how the writing turns out to decide whether he needs a season 5 or not.
Yeah. I don't hear a lot of passion for House of the Dragon the way Game of Thrones.
I don't know if I'm just not looking in the right places and things just aren't as mainstream anymore. Maybe there are passionate fans. Obviously they have enough to make 4 seasons out of it, and maybe even 5. But yeah, I don't see it either. So I don't know if that's just a blinder I have.
Yeah.
HBO has also renewed A Night of the Seven Kingdoms for season 2. That is also in the Game of Thrones universe, and that renewal comes ahead of a series premiere, which is slated for January 18th. I forgot this was coming and was very confused when I saw it was renewed. I'm like, wait, but no, we haven't seen it yet. The series premieres on January 18th, but they're so confident that it's going to be great that they already approved a season 2.
Yeah.
After premiering just 3 episodes of the first season, the network has renewed Rachel Sennett's comedy I Love LA for a 2nd season as well. And writing has begun on Harry Potter season 2, even though we have yet to see Harry Potter season 1. This is the TV show telling of Harry Potter. HBO has had conversations about rescuing Poker Face, Rian Johnson's TV series that aired on Peacock. Peacock did not pick up season 3. Natasha Lyonne has left the show, and they're not expecting her to come back. But Deadline reports that they have Peter Dinklage on board to agree to take over the lead if it gets picked up.
Oh, that's great. What a great trade-off. Natasha Lyonne, it's like, I'm sorry. Go on. You were saying?
Peter Dinklage, you say. Okay, that's interesting.
All of these announcements about renewals before stuff even hits air, isn't it interesting that this is even a thing to do? Because it used to be back in the before times, kids, 30, 40 years ago, there's like new shows coming. You're going to love it forever and ever and ever, unless it gets canceled.
Right. And renewals were always announced in the off season or towards the end of the spring season. But they may have been decided earlier. They just held those announcements. Because that's just the way you did things in the world of the TV Guide fall preview, right?
Right.
So I feel like it's just a different world where people are like, back then it's like, keep watching your favorite show and hope it gets, hope it doesn't get canceled. If you don't watch, it'll get canceled. Whereas now it's like, I don't want to watch that unless I'm sure there's going to be another season. And I think that's part of this.
Yeah.
The Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade will stream on Peacock as well as airing on NBC. But on Peacock, you'll get multi-view. 3-angle multi-view, including a live stream right from the main float if you want. The broadcast begins November 27th at 8:30 a.m. Eastern in all time zones across NBC and Peacock.
I'm guessing that the story just said everything exactly as you phrased it. So I guess it's up for interpretation whether or not this is probably going to be like you have to switch the channels yourself, or whether it's like you get
you can do either. You can watch it and let them do all the switching for you, or if you want, you can look at the live stream and like, I just want to see it from the parade side, or I just want to see it from the float point of view. Like, that's up to you.
Right, but okay, but so we're not talking about like a game day quad view of everything at once, unless you.
No, it's showing like if you look at the variety screenshot that NBC provided, it shows like one view is the host, one view is a float, one view is from the float, so you can have all three up at once. I'm guessing you could click in and make one of them full screen. That's usually the way those multi views work.
Well, and where I wanted to get with this is I was wondering about. Whenever something like this is new, it's like, okay, is this a fad, a novelty, or is this latent bandwidth that basically something has become possible and now somebody is willing to play with it? For example, TikTok could not exist 10 years before TikTok became popular because bandwidth, the ability to constantly be feeding enough buffering so that I could watch you flip channels as fast as you want, that didn't exist. Likewise, the abundance of 4K monitors, gigantic wall-size screens and all that.
Yep.
You could have done this on a 20-inch screen, but you'd be like, I don't even know what I'm looking at. It's just blobs on the screen. So this feels to me like a good idea that was always a good idea, that just now the hardware has caught up that it is profitable to make this the default experience for folks.
Yeah. And I think all of that led Peacock to build this for sports. Everything you said was true of sports. And they said, enough sports people will put multiple games on. We should make sure we have multi-view. And then the Macy's broadcast crew was like, hey, could we use that multi-view thing? That'd be kind of fun for us too, right? I almost guarantee that was part
which again is worth noting. I love the fact, Tom, that we have legitimately earned, as we are now in our second decade of doing this show and expect to do it for many decades more, thanks to our fine supporters at patreon.com/cordkillers,
who will keep us alive.
We can predict these long-term trends and watch them pan out. I am bullish on in-person, live, real events. Real as rain is going to be valuable beyond words. And there's a reason that right here on the Modern Rogue that we're folding in as much live programming like this as we can.
Yeah. Well, and not for nothing, NBC knows that you're not going to keep watching cable to watch this. So they're like, hey, if you subscribe to Peacock, you'll get multi-view, you'll get all this other stuff. So they want to make it feel like, oh, I'm not just subscribing to Peacock to replace cable. I'm subscribing to get more.
You know what?
Because they're in competition with everybody else.
Tom, this didn't even occur to me until just now. A side effect of this. Now, granted, I don't think anybody is pirating the Macy's Day Parade.
Sure.
But this is a confounding aspect. The more entertainment things where to quote unquote really watch it, you need triple view and the ability to flip around and look at everything from all angles in order to get the in-jokes. That complicates the model of piracy.
And that's very true for sports. Less so, like you say, for a Thanksgiving Day parade, but for sports, okay, I can stream the game, or I can go to Peacock and pick my own angles. It's harder, not impossible, to provide that in an unauthorized stream situation. That's a great point.
Yeah.
One of the few things that's older than Brian and I's career covering this is the show Joey. Joey was the sequel show to Friends. The final episodes of Joey were never aired. They were shot, but the show got canceled after it came back in January. But they will now be made available for the first time on YouTube, on the official Friends YouTube channel, which I thought at first was a little odd. And then I remembered, oh, yeah, you don't add these to your catalog because it costs money to host them on Peacock. You add them to your YouTube channel because it costs Google money to host them then. And every time someone streams one, you make money, whether they have ads or not. I hope this works and it becomes a way for those shows that just don't make economic sense to add to the catalog of your paid streaming service. Stick them on YouTube.
Well, so first of all, 100% bad idea to spend your money for a thing nobody wants that actively degrades the Joey brand, that you got to pay rent to have it get out there. Just negatives across the board. Don't do it. But then you're like, well, it's worth something to someone. So let's take the slice of everybody who loved Friends enough and the folks who liked Joey. And not what's funny is the value of these last episodes, they were net negative at the time of cancellation, but now purely by the distance of time, now they've become curiosities, nostalgia. Yeah. Like there is a slice of audience for whom this is very exciting because they're aged out in strange artifacts of an alternate universe where this show kept on going. And so they're worth something, but not very much. Not so much nobody's going to pay for them. Not so much that even the rights owner should pay for the rent to host them there. But it is enough that you can have your outside carnival barker say, inside the big tent, folks, all you do is got to click one subscribe. Just show the algorithm that you like Friends and you can behold miracles.
And
Joey's like the two-headed baby of Friends.
YouTube would be the first place I go to look for old episodes of Joey to see if somebody else had one on VHS and uploaded it or rescued it off an old TiVo. Now they'll be like, oh no, here's a nice high quality copy of it. Don't worry about trying to find it somewhere else. We've got you, which is also another good way of going about it. Variety's Actors on Actors is a great YouTube show where you have actors interview other actors, which sounds very sycophancy, but it actually ends up being produced really well so that you're like, oh, those are questions only another actor would ask another actor. I find it to be enjoyable to watch, and CNN agrees because they are going to air Actors on Actors on CNN's new streaming platform. They get an exclusive window to air them there before they show up on Variety's YouTube page. Episodes will roll out on CNN and Variety's digital channels starting December 5th.
Tom, as the co-host of a show that in an alternate universe would be called Content Creators on Other Content Creators, I think this is great.
Yeah. No, it is a concept that could be poorly done. But in this case, it is well done. And I think it's smart for CNN to be like, oh, we want that for our streaming service. We won't stop it from going to YouTube where people are curious about it, but we'd like a little window so that people who pay for CNN streaming feel like they're getting something special. They get to watch it earlier. There was one more trailer for Stranger Things, which comes back this week. First 4 episodes are Wednesday this week, November 26th. Second batch arrive on December 25th. You get 3 episodes there. And then the 4th of the second batch, the 8th of the season, the finale of the whole dang thing happens on New Year's Eve, December 31st.
Tom, is it a spoiler to report in this program a rumor that I saw circulating that I thought was interesting?
I don't think rumors are spoilers because we don't know if they're true or not. So,
but the problem is, like, once you think this thought, it will color how you watch that whole season of Stranger Things.
Sure. Don't think about anything before watching it because you could also think a thought.
If you're worried about having a thought that may affect your relationship to a show that hasn't come out yet, please skip forward 30 seconds. I was on one of those Explain the Joke subreddits, and the social media post was like, oh, geez, just spell it out all out, why don't you? And then the content was a tweet from one of the co-creators saying, man, ever since that first scene, it was electric. Getting those little kids in there playing a game of D&D, it was great. And then somebody's like, explain the joke. Top post was, yep, the rumor is all of Stranger Things was a campaign. You get to the end of season 5, and they're back in that room. rumor. That'd be neat. We'll see. Now that
I would not find that satisfying. It was all a dream is the only thing that would be worse than it was all a campaign.
That is kind of the problem, but
yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was interesting enough that now everybody who hears this idea is placing a bet, and then we'll all find out if we're right.
I think a more interesting way of doing that concept, were they to toy with that, is that the only way to save the world is to reset time back to before the events of season 1. And the only way to preserve the sanity of the people involved is to reconcile their experience by making it seem like it was just a D&D campaign. I'd be okay with something like that.
No, that's pretty good. Wago333 in the chat says makes the aging up of the actors make more sense as well, which would be interesting.
Yeah. Well, it is time for us to now share something we have been watching in the segment we call Buried Treasure.
Most people want to know why they suddenly got rich.
Buried treasure.
Of course, Buried Treasure means a treasure that we have been watching that we think we should unbury and let live so that you can watch it and add it to your list of things to watch. Brian, what you got?
Dude, Tom, I missed it go round. I heard goodish things about it, but it had kind of a mixed bag of reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. So I sat on the sidelines. Tom, the thing about Rotten Tomatoes is if it's a very, very high score, it means everybody found it generally pleasant. Sometimes if it doesn't hit a threshold, that's because it's actually not very good. But sometimes it's an indicator that it is so good that people hate it. Some segment of the populace hates what it has to say. Justin Robert Young was on a very long flight, watched Eddington, and he told me 3 times, you got to watch Eddington because I got to talk to someone about Eddington. And the 3rd time, I'm like, okay, I have no choice. I stopped everything. First half of it, I'm like, well, I know something's going to happen that is going to be polarizing, but I love what I'm seeing so far. The movie ended, called him in the middle of the night. We talked for an hour about how that movie rules, and we loved what it had to say. I liked Eddington quite a bit.
What's the movie about?
It takes place in 2020 during the days of the pandemic, and that is a legit criticism. Maybe the wounds are still too fresh of that time period to go back and look. It begins with you have a mayor of a small town, very small town, unbelievably small town. They got the water is scarce, but there's a data center that maybe is going to reinvigorate the area. But it begins with an argument over masks between a sheriff, kind of coded red state, and a mayor, kind of coded blue state. And then on top of that, you remember all that tension, all that those arguments brewing. Then they sprinkle in some social media, getting in your head stuff. They remind you, and they stick a finger right in your brain and tickle oh, that's right, Black Lives Matter, and this and that. And it was deeply, deeply unpleasant to have all of that surface up. And then the movie, turns out, has a different point altogether. It is fascinating. I liked it quite a bit.
I've actually heard Andrew Heaton talk about this. Now that you reminded me what it's about, I'm like, oh, right, I have heard about this. And it is polarizing mostly because it doesn't take one of those two sides the way everyone else does, from what I could tell. Yeah.
And if you want no spoilers.
And so there's something for everyone to hate in it, basically.
Well, this is not a specific spoiler about the plot of the movie. But what happens is you pick sides in the first half and you identify characters who you think are right or wrong. And then one by one, each one of them is proven to be irredeemable for reasons related to the reasons you were cheering for them. And then confused, there are no protagonists for you to cheer for. And you are forced to realize that if you picked a side, if you cheered for anyone at any point during this movie, you are the bad person. It is great. It is great.
The only issue I will take with your description here is using Rotten Tomatoes as something reliable for anything. frankly.
Well, I mean, I put it in charge of my family's health care.
I used to, but not anymore.
Oh. What
However,
score do you give Rotten Tomatoes?
spoiled rotten. My wife did meet someone when she worked at Rotten Tomatoes named Naz Perez, who has gone on to bigger and better things and now hosts a screening series called Nazflix, which is perfect.
Brilliant.
Where she will often bring in the actors for a show, do a little Q&A, and then do a screening for it before it comes out in theaters. We were lucky enough to get invited to the screening of Eternity, which is a romantic comedy. The premise is when you die, you go to a big hotel and you have 2 weeks to pick your eternity. Doesn't matter what kind of life you led. There's no like you were good or you're bad. You spend 2 weeks and the middle of the hotel is like the hotel at Dragon Con, where the middle of the hotel is just a conference area where everybody has a little booth to promote their eternity for you to come go. And the eternities are permanent. Once you go to an eternity, you can't leave the eternity. So you need to pick wisely because it's the only chance you got. You're going to spend eternity there. And then the plot of the movie is that a husband dies before his wife. But when his wife gets there and he's about to pick his eternity, turns out she had a previous husband who died in the war. And they're both there because the one way you can get out of the 2 week thing is if you take a job in the hotel, and he did,
wow.
and he has waited 60 years for her to show up. And now she has to choose which of them she's going to spend eternity with.
First of all, I love the whole rush week for heavens. That's brilliant.
Yeah. The concept is great. The depiction of the like booths and everything is fantastic. They execute the plot in a romantic comedy style way that I didn't find to be like too tropey. It's tropey, but it's like, oh yeah, but this is a well done version of the trope. And honestly, I went into it knowing nothing, had a great time, and thought this is probably something I'll come out of going, you know what? I'm sure I could watch this at home and it would be just as good. The way they show the eternities and the way they show the hotel, I'm like, this actually was better on the big screen. This is one of the few romantic comedies I would say you might want to see it on the big screen. You know, you'll still enjoy it at home, but it shows itself well in the theater in a way that it won't at home.
So this sounds like a case where just the environment was rich enough that you enjoyed feeling like you had surround sound with your eyes.
I feel like it's the first time I noticed, and I'm sure I'm late to the game, that, you know, if you do a romantic comedy for Netflix, you know it's going to be on a 60-inch screen at max, right? Most people aren't going to go above that. So you don't bother spending too much time making things look grand and spacious. Romantic comedies also in the theaters used to not bother with that because they're like, oh, you're coming for the story. This one realized like, well, if you're going to come to a theater, we need to make it look grand and spacious. We got to do what those big sweeping, you know, Cinerama movies did for the romantic comedy. And I think they did a good job of it. It's got Miles Teller, Elizabeth Olsen, and Callum Turner in it too, if you're curious about the actors. So you get a little Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% here for it.
Yeah. So that one is called Eternity. If you got something we should be on the lookout for, email us cordkillers@gmail.com. Brian, I had a great idea.
Yes.
Yeah. I was like, you know what? Yes, I have a very successful podcast. I have a very successful YouTube presence, but I should start a store where I sell stuff. What do you think?
Well, I'm intrigued. Go on.
I have decided to create gear for the modern tech guy. No, I'm just kidding.
I was about to say.
No,
like,
but
what's funny is I'm like, okay, stop the show. How can I help?
Thank you. No, I appreciate that reaction. But we have expanded the Daily Tech News Show store, and I'm wearing one example of it. This is a stitched logo DTNS hat. This is not a patch. This is not just printed on here. We got some better quality stuff. I hired Len Peralta to make us a techie Santa logo that we've got available on some greeting cards and posters.
What's the URL?
Dailytechnewsshow.com/store is the place to go. And right now, if you use the code DTNS Rocks, you can get 12% off anything in the store to celebrate us finishing up our 12th year of doing DTNS. Got my ebook on there. There's the Len Peralta art with the techie Santa. He's got drones pulling his sleigh. This DTNS hat is really comfortable.
Yeah, so
it's really
hats are
nice
one of
looking.
those that I don't trust pictures on. Will you vouch for this
Yeah.
hat?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I ordered the sample that I'm wearing, because I'm like, I want to make sure that's actually a comfy hat. It's a cotton hat, super, super nice. I've been wearing it all day. And the logo is well done. This is not going to unravel tomorrow or anything like that. So
And then what's the code I want to put in here?
DTNS Rocks at checkout. DTNS ROCKS. I think you probably have to fill out all the rest of that
I'm
stuff.
not filling all
before you put it.
my stuff while we're live on the air,
yeah.
but I'll make sure to use code DTNS Rocks.
Yeah, and you can get the ebook of Synced, which is my book about all about the world of technology and the history of technology there as well. A lot of people have been doing that. It is but a small percentage of what I have learned from watching you do gear for the modern rogue, but it's definitely been helpful. So check it out, dailytechnewsshow.com/store.
Right on.
Shall we scan the horizon?
Send a scanning crew aboard.
Scanning the horizon!
A U.S. federal judge has denied Disney's request for a preliminary injunction against Sling TV for offering its day passes. That's right. Sling just went and said, you know what? You can buy 1 day of Sling and watch all the ESPN you want. We'll only charge you $5. Disney said, I think that violates our agreement. They took it to a judge. The judge said, I don't see anything in this agreement about the amount of time for a subscription length. I don't think you're going to win, Disney, so I'm not going to issue a preliminary injunction. Sling can keep selling its day passes while we do the trial. And in celebration, Sling dropped the price of the pass from $5 to $1 until November 30th.
That's brilliant. That's the equivalent of like, wait a minute. So you're definitely not arresting shoplifters? Not at this time. So in this
Here we
case,
go.
To be clear, the judge is not saying that this is okay. This is not anything close to a ruling. What this is an assessment. To get an injunction, you have to show that there is so much damage happening that until we even hear the arguments, everything has to stop. And what they're saying is that the judge is saying that's not abundantly clear enough for me to stop this in action.
Yeah, the damages and that you're likely to win, that you have a chance to win. If the judge
so there
thinks
is
you
a
have
little bit of horse betting in there.
Yeah, if the judge thinks you have no chance to win, they might not issue the injunction. In this case, the judge said, I don't think you're going to win, and it's not like you're super damaged by this. So I am not going to issue an injunction to make Sling stop. We'll still hold the case. Disney might still win, but the judge doesn't think they will.
Well, and if I'm remembering this correctly, it's they can even say, and yes, if you win, you will be owed damages. But
yeah,
I think it's
Disney can make that case.
Irrecoverable damages, like for example, if somebody's life is in danger, it's like you can't get back your kid or what have you.
Yeah, right. Major League Baseball announced the details of its new broadcast agreements for 2026. As we expected, NBC will take over Sunday Night Baseball from ESPN. They will also take over the entire wild card round of postseason from ESPN and will air some other games throughout the season across NBC, the newly relaunched NBC Sports Network, and Peacock. ESPN will continue to carry baseball. It just won't do it on Sunday night. And it will become the home of MLB.TV out-of-market broadcast service, something it has done for the NHL. It'll be interesting how they incorporate that. With the NHL, it's just part of your ESPN subscription. It was part of your ESPN Plus subscription, so now it's part of the unlimited subscription. That would be a big addition for ESPN, and I kind of get why they're like, we don't want to pay for one night when we can be the home of almost all of baseball. Then the other intriguing thing of this deal is Netflix is going to get some baseball. They will get opening night, which is the first night game of the season. Opening day is the first day game of the season. They'll get the Home Run Derby, which takes place before the All-Star game, something traditionally ESPN has shown. And they'll get one special game every year. This coming season, it will be the Field of Dreams game in Iowa that they play at the field from the Field of Dreams movie. But there'll be other special games in the future that Netflix will get. That deal's for 3 years. Apple TV still has its rights to the Friday night games. Fox keeps Saturday baseball, the All-Star game, and all of its postseason broadcasts. And little TBS will keep the League Championship Series and the Division Series that it already had. So baseball spread out across even more.
It seems like the big winner in all of this is Major League Baseball because it found a proper home. I mean, those Netflix offerings, you couldn't ask for a better, more congruent match.
Yeah, they're going to get 2 games, and they're special games. Most people get Netflix, so the few people who don't, who want to watch those games, will be mad, but most people won't be mad because they'll be like, oh, I can find them there. They get the Home Run Derby, which is a very Netflix-y thing. They like to show special competitions, little off-the-wall kind of stuff. So yeah, that, and I think ESPN getting MLB.TV, especially if it's like, hey, you don't have to pay for this anymore, just get ESPN. And you just get it the way they did with the NHL. I think that'll be huge.
Yeah.
Amazon is introducing AI-generated video recaps for select TV shows on Prime Video. The first shows include Fallout, Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan, Upload, Bosch, and The Rig. Video recaps are currently only available in English and only accessible on your living room device versions of apps. The video recaps include narration, dialogue, and music.
This will be interesting. I think that Amazon is betting on making small, tentative extensions of. I'm going to use the word pseudopods twice now. Of into a territory where trust is going to matter. People are going to understand that the tech won't always get it right. But for example, here's a sentence that would have made no sense 2 years ago. Have you noticed, Tom, that you have varying degrees of trust for the different LLMs in different times? They're like toddlers who some are good at lying, some are bad at lying. They get habits and stuff. I mean, in general, if it was a person who was like, hey man, Brian, you got 30 seconds, 3 minutes, 30 minutes. What kind of how up to date do you want to go? I'm like, I can give you 20. And then maybe eventually we get to a place where it gives me the 3-minute summary. And then it notices, just by, let's hypothesize there's a camera watching me while it does it, and it's able to say, oh, I've got him on the hook. Well, let me keep on telling him and then fill up a half hour. And now he really knows everything. Now he's pretty much done the full experience, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. The the interesting part for me is that these are only available at the beginning of a new season for supported shows, which tells me they're not just running this on demand when you ask for it. Like there are versions of this that are happening like that. Audible is doing one where it will catch you up on Spotify is doing it with audiobooks where it on the fly, wherever you are in the book, will catch you up on what happened before if it's been a minute since you picked up that book. Amazon is curating these. They're having the model generate the recap for the previous season. Then they're looking at it to make sure it doesn't look weird. Then they're posting it for you to use. It's just saving them on time and money to produce them, basically.
Yeah, there's also a kind of a practical limit to how much it can hold in its, for lack of a better word, mind. Opus Clips, for example, has a service. If you, let's say you're a 3-hour-a-day sports radio show and you have a gazillion hours of whatever, I think it's 10,000 hours it can hold in its mind, and then up to the minute, let's say breaking news, Roddy McDowell dies, and he was on an episode once 10 years ago. I know, I'm sorry. I don't know where that name came
Roddy
from.
Roddy McDowell, man, a good Fantasy Island connection.
Yeah, but I tried to pick somebody who I was pretty sure was definitely already dead, but because I didn't want to be too morbid about it. But the point is, it instantly summons together that 1 minute short and drops it into your YouTube feed on your behalf without ever even consulting you, because it knows it's timely and that kind of stuff. So I would imagine that keeping it finite and limited makes it so that it can now target those summaries based on the user data, similar to what we've seen with Opus.
Yeah, I think it's smart for them to actually say, you know what, we're going to curate these and make the best advantage of them. And if we have to run it through a second time to fix something, we can. It's not going to be a problem. It means I'll rely on them more often as well. Google has integrated Epishine indoor solar technology into a new reference remote design for streaming boxes. The remote would recharge on rechargeable batteries instead of disposable ones, and then have solar cells on both sides. So even if it gets stuck, upside down, it would still charge based on the lights in your room.
That's remarkable. Mainly that it could do so much on so little energy.
Yeah. Well, it's trickle charge, right? But a remote doesn't need a lot of energy, and it sits around a lot not being used. So kind of makes sense that as long as you've got those solar cells on both sides, you can keep that thing from needing to be recharged for a long, long time. Imagine the rechargeable batteries will die before the charge runs out, if that makes sense,
Yeah, its ability to
Photocall is Photocall is a TV piracy streaming platform that had more than 26 million users annually until the Alliance for Creativity and Entertainment and DAZN came for it. Photocall operators have agreed to cease operations. They were approached by 2 anti-piracy organizations and reached a settlement. All domains have been transferred to the ACE and now redirect to ACE's legal website. This was made possible through joint law enforcement operations coordinated by Europol.
Mm-hmm.
Pirated TV, they're coming for you, so don't use that
one. My silence is not an indication of a value judgment. This is a thing I like to call Brian Brushwood attempting to exercise restraint from what could be a 3-hour-long conversation about piracy.
Fair, totally fair. And then finally, Wicked for Good opened $250 million domestic, $226 million worldwide, beating the original Wicked's $112.5 million domestic, $164 million global. Wicked for Good is now the biggest global and domestic opening for a movie based on a Broadway show ever, beating the record previously held by Wicked. Universal Studio marketing chief Michael Moses said, "Because of Wicked's success, but also the fanship, we have almost a responsibility to figure out how we can continue in this universe." In other words, that's a lot of money. We should probably make a sequel. And Steven Schwartz, who wrote the music for the musical version of Wicked, says he has an idea for a Wicked-related project that he cooked up with the musical's writer, or book writer, but not the novel, the book for the musical, Winnie Holtzman. He said, "I think Glinda and Elphaba's story feels complete, but there are other aspects that could be explored." And he said those would not necessarily be based on one of novelist Gregory Maguire's 8 sequel to the novels.
Man, I don't even blame him. If that much money's flying around, then clearly the world's got a hunger for it. So yeah, make whatever that is.
All right, let's move on to Le Chateau.
You got mail.
We got lots of good mail. Tom Ball in Evan, Texas. Oh, sorry. I meant Evan in Tomball, Texas. Right. I wish it was the other way around. That's why I said that. Hey, killers. One data point for you. My boomer parents raved about switching from traditional TV service to YouTube TV when I finally convinced them to do it a year ago. I don't use an over-the-top TV service at all, and the only reason I even heard about the YouTube Disney carriage fight was when I got a text from my mom who said, "FYI, we canceled YouTube TV because we can't watch Kimmel. We have Hulu Live TV now because they have all the Disney stuff still." So, as a Movies Anywhere user who bought a new Hisense TV running Android TV and Google TV, very good OS, I've definitely started making purchases on Google Play and YouTube and fully expect them to be on the Movies Anywhere app. But, unlike my parents, I have nothing to cancel. As Brian said, not sure who wins, but the consumer definitely loses.
Yeah. Say old boss.
You know what? We forgot to check.
Boss.
We forgot to check to see if Movies Anywhere restored Google after the carriage dispute ended.
Well, here, while you're doing that,
why don't you read the next one while I try to figure that out?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's right there on the homepage. Google Play YouTube is now once again part of it. So there you go.
I'll still read Big Jim's email. He says, I think you guys are missing something exceedingly fundamental when it comes to the conversation about Disney having a walled garden for their characters in an AI application. That's the fact that Disney now has, instead of hundreds or even thousands of writers, they have billions of writers because everybody's going to be pumping the model with ideas. Disney will be able to take the very best ideas and turn them into full-length features or TV shows that they can mine for more general public to watch, which is going to make everybody want to come further into the model and create new characters, which means you now have a spiral of exceeding profits without having to generate their own ideas. Yet, to be honest, the closest comp that I see to this, Big Jim, is what already exists in the YouTube ecosystem. When somebody is a viewer, they are also part of a focus group, and they are also giving their data based on how long they watch, what they're interested in, and by painted in the negative space, it reveals what, as I put it, the universe is hungry for, the unmet need.
Yeah, I get where Jim's coming from, and I'm betting it's going to happen a couple of times, but I wonder just how often. It's like saying, you've got all these great ideas for TV shows and movies from YouTube and TikTok. You do, but they don't tend to use that for that.
I'm certainly not in any public facing way, but I would imagine that a robot could essentially say, here are 10 movies that you absolutely could make. You have the agreements, you have the IPs, and the numbers indicate they would go blockbuster.
It's less about someone made a remix that got so popular we turned it into a movie, which will happen. I'm not disputing that. But every day they will be looking at what people have been remixing and what people have been watching and using that data to inform scripts that they are getting from other sources to be like, oh, that's the kind of script they want. Let's go with that. John writes, back in the early 2000s, my brother and I both had 4 and 8-year-olds. That joke never gets old. And we had a program that you could revoice various scenes from Shrek. I still remember crowding around my brother's desktop, helping the kids say, do you know the Muffin Man? The Muffin Man, he lives on Drury Lane. Hearing about this generative AI Disney project makes me think a whole new generation of families will have a chance to enjoy experiencing a movie in a more collaborative way, not just watching it. I guess that's the whole premise of places like Disneyland or Universal Studios, having IP-themed areas for people who want to participate and not just observe.
Yeah, man. I think we'll talk a little bit about this in the full experience because I noticed some things in our episode of Taxi this time. But the ability to inject yourself into the story is implicit in certain approachable narratives where the protagonist is easy to picture being yourself. And in the case of theme parks is explicit. They even advertise it as the only thing missing is you. And in this case, I agree. I'm actually quite bullish on what seems to be a naked, silly cash grab that's going to be a nonsense factory. I think something interesting is going to come of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be more about families having fun the way John describes. I think that's going to be a big use of it. I am sad that my nieces are now 5 years old and 9 years old because they are no longer the 4 and 8-year-olds. However, Scott says, I continue to love the running gag of the 4 and 8-year-olds, so much so, I propose when your Patreon hits television production levels of, say, $9 million per episode, you produce The Adventures of the 4 and 8-year-olds, an animated series following a crack team of 8-year-old detectives from around the globe that come together to solve Carmen Sandiego-style mysteries. But each 8-year-old is forbidden to fight crime in their home country, lest their parents learn of their alter egos and enforce the dreaded bedtime.
There, man, you know what? Their big nemesis could be like, he's able to commit crimes in all countries. How is it? Turns out he's literally
How can
an
we
alien.
possibly stop? He's literally a 17-year-old. Andy Beach wrote, Tom, Brian, and Amos loved the Disney discussion as I knew that had to have made this week's lineup. I believe what you're both circling is something I've been writing about on my Substack and which Tim Wu recently named in his newest book, The Age of Extraction. We've shifted from the age of distribution to the age of extraction. Disney isn't just rolling out a cute UGC feature. They're trying to become a callable layer in the model ecosystem. Your prompt does in fact become the access fee. Tom's right that we ended up with specialized models and agents stitching them together. Brian's also right that those agents will mix and match IP layers like plugins. I call dibs on someone calling the model combined platform Chimera.
Which I
And
did.
Ultimately, that's the real play here. Disney doesn't need the UGC feed to become a mass consumption hit. They just need it to normalize the Disney kernel as part of the stack your future agent reaches for. In that future, every kid spinning up a Frozen short is doing two things at once. They're exercising their imagination and contributing training signals back into Disney's own system. The long tail of creative variation gets outsourced to the audience. Disney keeps the sovereignty and the telemetry. The legal part gets interesting too. Brian's essence of Donald Duckness joke is basically the frontier. It's less, we own this specific drawing, more, we own the recognizable behavior space this model produces. Public domain in theory, but monopolistic by infrastructure in practice. Whether this becomes a big section inside Disney Plus almost matters less than whether they can secure that model layer position. That's the move. Always appreciate when the conversation veers into this territory. Thanks as always, and apologize for going long. Please have an LLM summarize this.
As an LLM named Brian Brushwood, I will recommend everybody follow Andy Beach's patron at Engines of Change.
You'll want to follow Agents of Change on Substack if you want to follow
Engines of Change.
Engines, not agents. He's got agents, but he's making engines. Finally, Michael writes, I just recently started watching all of the available seasons of Taxi. I laugh at every episode more than I did because of the age. I also like how the feel of the show is more like a stage production where you see everybody left to right when they are in the garage. I think the other options for future full experiences could be a Bob Newhart show and Happy Days.
Yeah. I also, I guess we'll talk about Taxi and the full experience. Thank you to everybody who's watching along with us. That's our favorite. Make sure to write us at cordkillers@gmail.com and let us know what you guys think.
Yeah, our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. We are live on twitch.tv/nightattack and youtube.com/martinrogue Tuesdays. Don't miss it. 5:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Pacific. I reckon we'll talk to you then.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
You can't just walk away.
Nailed it.
Well done.
Give or take. Give or take. I even pressed stop on the record at that moment, so that worked out really well.
Look at you.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Do you want to? We could just keep rolling straight into it if you want.
Are you good? Yeah.
Yeah,
If you're able,
yeah.
I'm able. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, here we go. We'll start in 3, 2. Well, actually, here. Let's just do that. Interesting. Okay, 3, 2.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the full experience. This is an experiment in understanding television where we watch but 4 episodes of a series to see if we can get almost an entire understanding of the full run. And we are watching Taxi. We watched the first episode last week. This week, we're watching the ultimate episode, the highest rated on IMDb. Next week, we'll watch the lowest episode, and then we'll finish with the last episode of the series. This week's episode, the ultimate, is Reverend Jim, A Space Odyssey, which first aired September 25th, 1979. I'm Tom Merritt. He's Brian Brushwood.
Hey, man, this episode really reminded me of what I love most about the full experience, which is chiefly we get to solve a mystery. We have a second layer to the game because the question's always, why? Why is this episode good? And sometimes it's important and good and beloved and highly rated because it completes a long meta story. Other times it's for, so-and-so's last episode, et cetera, et cetera. I have theories about this one, but I'd love to hear you go first.
I don't know why this is the ultimate episode. It's one of the few times where I feel like it was a very good episode. In fact, in my notes, I put same length as Speed Racer, but feels half as long. I liked it. It was fun to see a young Christopher Lloyd, performing like I would expect Christopher Lloyd to perform. I think maybe that's part of the reason it's so highly rated, because that's a great performance from Christopher Lloyd. Lotka's black slang didn't seem to be the stellar part of this, because honestly, in 2025, it just felt like he was saying mainstream stuff. It didn't feel like he was being subversive or anything. This is very much of its period. You get that Vietnam moment that I think is what 1979 needed. Bigger deal then, though, than it seems watching it now. I don't know why this is the most highly rated show on Taxi, except that maybe Taxi's just such a good series. Every episode's pretty good, and this one just out-indexed it a little bit.
Tom, what does a yellow light mean?
It means only proceed into the intersection if you are sure you can clear it before the red light goes on. If not, don't enter the intersection.
Pete in the Twitch chat, Pete31415 is saying it's number one based on the slow down line. Look, there are 3 good laughs in this entire episode, but they're genuine good laughs. One is the slow down line. They did it once, and I was like, that is a poor joke. But then I
totally forgot about that joke. And that's why I answered in such a stupid way just now, because I totally forgot that was in this episode. And now I know what you were going after. And I think I know what you're going to say, but carry on.
Oh, no. It was a poor joke that they just brutally doubled down on, and then
pushed down, through until it became funny.
Down, and it became uncomfortable. And I barked laughter alone in the room. So I noticed a very, very old school vaudeville vignette. By the way, the joke was Christopher Lloyd takes a test, says, what does a yellow light mean? And he whispers for the answer, and the guy goes, slow down. And so he says it slower and slower. It's painful until it's hilarious. The other vector is, this is the onboarding of a character. This is an outsider being brought into the virtual family of everybody in their living room or whatever. They liked that Reverend Jim character. And what they liked about him is he was the fringiest parts of themselves. I hated the movie Forrest Gump when I was younger, because I got no fuzzy, warm, nostalgia glow of all the remember wins of boomer stuff. I thought it was self-indulgent and selfish. And because the whole time I'm watching it at the age of 17, 18, I'm thinking, here, now, we're here right and now. Why are you not telling a story
right here, right me? Now? There is no other place you'd rather be.
Exactly. But I said, Jesus, Jones, come on. And so, wow, now I'm indulging in the thing that I'm about to rail on. But now I understand. We talk, I pay an awful lot of attention over the last year as I posted nearly 1,000 shorts on the YouTube channel. And I noticed that titles, I think a lot about friction. How easy can I allow the viewer to insert themselves into this narrative? If you add too many characters, you lose them. If you overcomplicate the bit and you ask them to, if they have to remember something for a full minute, you're going to lose them. But if you make it about them, and even better, let them play both sides of the roles, then you get this frictionless onboarding. That's what Forrest Gump did, because everything was, I remember that, I remember that, I remember that. The moment Christopher Lloyd said Woodstock, I understood everything. He goes on long tangents about things he remembered from the 60s. And I thought to myself, at home in the 1970s, everybody's checking boxes. And then he gets to the part where he says, I protested that stupid war. And I thought, somebody out there is about to get out of his chair. And sure enough, Tony Danza did that. And you got that awesome moment where he says, hey, while you were out there saying all this, I was out there fighting and dying for you to say it. What do you got to say to that? Thank you. Genuinely great, because I could see all of America finding a Teflon-coated, frictionless way to insert themselves into those moments to create genuine tension and a genuine payoff that delighted me. Outside of that, everything was boring as rocks.
Really? I thought it was enjoyable. I enjoyed the whole thing. It was very comfortable. But comfortable can also be boring.
The ham-fisted filling out of the eyes, like nowadays, I think everybody actually waited for him to write 5'8". There was just extended.
That was the joke, was like, oh, we're really gonna say, and it kind of built you up for the slow down line, right? It's like, oh, he's really slow. And
I'll never know whether or not the slow down bit would have worked without the luxurious pacing of him filling out the form beforehand.
Sure. I think you're right, though. I think the slow down line is iconic, and I'm sure that bolsters its credibility. But that line of thank you is so perfect. And I think you explained it so well. I don't think everybody watching it now would understand just how big of a deal it was. How in 1979, the talk around the living room at family gatherings that I was at as a 9-year-old was these people don't, nobody thanks the veterans. And yes, Vietnam was a questionable war, but they still had to fight. And it's not fair that they don't get welcomed back. And we were a couple of years away from Ronald Reagan embracing that and writing it into the presidency. That moment, like you said, was a prism. You could see it as finally they thanked us, and you could see it as, yeah, thanks for going and fighting so I didn't have to, right? Like it worked. It was just so beautifully created that it worked for everybody.
Yeah. I would say there were 3 or 4 little vignettes. We also had, it's so funny for it to be out of character for Danny DeVito to be on the drugs. By the way, if you've read Arnold Schwarzenegger's autobiography, I think it was Be Useful is his recent book. But in Be Useful, he talks about how on Twins, Arnold Schwarzenegger, they had a mostly useless shoot day because Danny DeVito dosed his cigar with marijuana. And so Danny DeVito, after that joke happened, committed that crime to Arnold Schwarzenegger. Isn't that
exactly wild? He's like, I got a great idea from this. It was fun to see. Louis has now come out of the booth in both of the episodes we've watched, right? One to hilarious reveal, the other just to, because he's been dosed. I don't know, man. This show feels like it perfectly represents pre-Reagan America. And I know Taxi lasts into the first couple of years of Reagan's term, but there is an indefinable, comfortable malaise that existed then that I think this perfectly captures.
Well, and we don't see, this is a time, you got to remember how crime-ridden New York is at this time.
Yeah.
And there really was what can you do about it? You can't fight City Hall. Everything's nasty. And if anything, this one brief moment, I mean, maybe they allude to it in other episodes, but at this time, essentially, these are soldiers. The moment they leave that area, they're at war. And I wouldn't be surprised if there are episodes about so-and-so getting shot and so on.
Yeah. It's certainly plenty of people vomiting in cabs, which still happens today. Also, we got a new location. Everything was basically either in the airport or the dispatch area. We opened in a restaurant. I don't know if there's been a restaurant in previous episodes at this point, right? But I was like, oh, we're at an Italian restaurant to open the show. That's kind of fun. And then we go back to the dispatch area.
But we also the shabbiest of the sets was the testing area.
I forgot about the DMV.
I think I caught one of the walls wobbling, which made me grin when the letter wrote about how everything felt, shall we say, theatrical, or another way to phrase it would be staged.
That was actually shot in a real New York DMV in 1979, though the walls were just wobbly back then.
They were able to pack all 200 live studio audience in there.
Yes, exactly. That's all I got, though. I thought it was a fine episode, and I really did at the end go, oh, I watched that whole episode without really looking at my watch, and that's not been true of Speed Racer. So there we go.
Yeah, it definitely took me along for the ride. There was a couple of slower moments, but I had a good time. Mainly the best part of it was for me to have that epiphany of the why it was so highly rated, because I have to imagine that everybody would say, "Oh, it was like they were talking to me," because yes, they said literally all the things that that you might, statistically speaking, say at that time.
Slow down.
It's funny. It's hard to not go on defense when you hear that, right?
So that is Reverend Jim, A Space Odyssey. Next time we will watch the lowest rated episode, Vienna Waits, from October 15th, 1981. So 2 years away from the end of the run, season 4 of 5, season 4, episode 2. And this received a 6.5 out of 10. For comparison, Reverend Jim received a 9.1 out of 10. So Vienna Waits is the next episode if you want to watch it along with us. It is the lowest rated episode on IMDb of Taxi.
I'll make my prediction now. My prediction, clip show.
Ooh, you think so?
Yeah.
Vienna Waits. Vienna Waits doesn't sound very clip showy, but then
if
you know, it doesn't
they're
have
about to
be.
go on a trip to Vienna,
and they
flights
remember
are
all the good
delayed,
times,
and they're at an airport stuck.
Oh, they're delayed at the airport to go to Vienna. That's why it's, yeah, okay, all right, yeah. Could very well be. We shall find out next time on The Full Experience, and you will find out faster if you're a patron. Patrons get these episodes first. They get to weigh in on what we watch by sending us emails and listening to After Talk, which is a Patreon exclusive. Go sign up at patreon.com/cordkillers, and we will be back for The Full Experience again next time.
Oh man, I was trying to find Zoe Brings Bacon had brought up a Patreon plug, but I couldn't find it. So instead there's a Daily Tech News Show plug.
Oh, nice.
So we got a couple of extra seconds of fat there at the end. Sorry about that.
Were you going to run that at the close music or no?
No. Well, I don't know if we play the music. It'll just end with that silence.
That's fine. He'll add the music in. That's totally fine.
Okay. Well,
all
then
right.
We're going to drop off the streams, beautiful people.
Thanks, everybody.
Not a bad start. That was good.
Good job, Brian. Well done.
Yay.
Running those. Yeah, that was smooth.
We'll be
From
back.
where
With a
I
great
said
night. Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.